On to video number 2 for your wonderful Saturday morning. Listen, John Rappaport, I'm sure you heard of that name. He's got a blog. He's been around for a while. Trying to fight the fight, truth movement, exposing the corruption, the lies, the government, all that crap. I've seen his name all over the place in my, escapades of searching for news and whatnot and hearing people talk and reading articles. He's one of those guys. And he talks about something he'd already published a while back called Globalists Interviewed. They admitted they control the government. And I feel like, this is them speaking. And for anyone who thinks, it's just tinfoil hat, there's no such thing, these aren't, the elected officials run the government, not stupid rich people. Come on. No, these people are beyond rich. Rich people are your celebrities, football players, ball players, whatever. These people aren't posted and published in Forbes or anywhere. The Rockefellers don't get published. The Rothschild family doesn't get published, etc. But just an FYI, one of my subscribers, don't know if it's a he or she. I think it's a he because I have a feeling it might have been one of the guys that did it last time. Nonetheless, one of my subscribers, wonderful person, Cliff High, emailed me, "Hey, Joe, one of your subscribers has purchased 4 reports from me and said essentially for me to let you know to give them out to 4 people for free." What a wonderful subscriber. Love it. I love it. So what I'm going to do is, again, randomly select 4 people. If you want a WebBot report, just say, "Hey, I'd like a free one." Obviously, if you already got one and bought one, there's no reason for you to even speak about that. "Oh, give me one." Why take it from somebody else? I'm sure you're not that silly to do, something like that. But anyway, 4 people. I've got 4. If I will ask if by chance you were one of the ones last time. I remember he gave out free ones, and I gave out some free ones too. I bought a couple, and then someone else pitched in and that kind of thing. I think we gave out like 6 or 7 that time. If you happen to have gotten one of those, just do us or me a favor. Don't ask for another one this month. Let's if you don't mind, someone who didn't get one, let's let them have one, if you don't mind. I'm not going to go back and see who said one last month and when I did that. I'm just asking if you can hold off, just hold off. Let someone else try to get it. So, and by the way, once I pick you, I'll just tell you, go to my website and click the contact page or whatever, and I'll have a way to figure out who you are anyway. So, Globalists Interviewed, they admitted they controlled the government, by John Rappaport, March 2nd, 2017. This is a bombshell. It is a crucial piece of history that has been ignored by the mass media, mainstream media. Why? Because, and he's not saying this, I'm telling you, people think of the media as this agency that became news because they wanted to do what news agencies do, like a newspaper, and they turn into this giant corporation and they give news and all that. You're going to find out one day. I'm telling you now, you're going to find out, and I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but you're going to find out that the likes of CNN, amongst others, especially CNN, was never, ever, ever created for quote-unquote news reporting. It was created to shape your mind and opinion on everything, including fake stuff that they purport is real and show you on TV. You're going to find that out if you don't already know that. So back to this. I've published this interview before. Here I want to make new comments. First of all, David Rockefeller's Trilateral Commission was born in 1973, in part because the globalist plan to ensure, quote-unquote, free trade, as in no tariffs paid by predatory mega corporations, had run into a glitch. That glitch was President Richard Nixon. He began laying tariffs on certain goods imported into the U.S. in order to level the playing field and protect American companies. Nixon, a substantial crook in other respects, went off script in this case and actually started a movement to reject the globalist vision. I think we know why Watergate happened now, all of a sudden. After Nixon's ouster from the White House, Gerald Ford became president, and he chose David Rockefeller's brother, Nelson Rockefeller, as his vice president. It was a sign globalism and free trade were back on track. But David Rockefeller and his sidekick, Mr. Brzezinski, you heard that name before, wanted more. They wanted a man in the White House whom they'd created from scratch. Now, why would they want a man from scratch? The same reason why some people will tell you we'd rather hire someone that doesn't have the experience, because, like a certain mechanic or a certain kind of engineer, because they come over here with bad habits. They come over here with bad habits, and then we have to essentially retrain them the way we want them to do it, which is the right way. And a lot of times that causes friction, and they don't want to do it that way. They were taught this way. They think it's the right way, even though it's not the right way. We want a new guy in the White House. You know, like a Barack Obama, first-term senator. Doesn't know his butt from a hole in the wall. That kind of guy, you know? That man was a peanut farmer no one had ever heard of. Jimmy Carter. Through their media connections, David and Brzezinski. Hang on a second. I forgot that. Okay. Usually when my wife comes home and I hear the garage door open, it's the same sound every single time. This one sounded like someone ran into the garage. But nonetheless, it was wide open. She pulled in. She was already pulled in. So maybe she hit the thing in front of her that hit the wall or something. I don't know. So anyways, though through their media connections, David and Brzezinski vaulted Carter into the spotlight. He won the Democratic nomination, 1976, spread a syrupy message of love and coming together after the Watergate debacle, and soon he was ensconced into the Oval Office. Flash forward to 1978, the second year of Carter's presidency, in an interview, an interview took place. It's a close-up snapshot of a remarkable moment. It's a through-the-looking-glass secret in the form of a conversation between a reporter, Jeremiah Novak, and two Trilateral Commission members, Carl Kaiser and Richard Cooper. The interview concerned the issue of who exactly, during President Carter's administration, was formulating and controlling U.S. economic and political policy. The careless and offhand attitude of trilateralists Kaiser and Cooper is astonishing. It's as if they're saying, quote, "What we're revealing is already out in the open. It's too late to do anything about it. Why are you so worked up? We've already won." So he says, Novak, the reporter, "Is it true that a private trilateral committee led by Henry Owen of the U.S. and made up of a trilateral representatives of the U.S., UK, West Germany, Japan, France, and the EEC is coordinating the economic and political policies of the trilateral countries, which would include the U.S.? Mr. Cooper, yes, they have met 3 times. Novak says, yet in your recent paper you state that the committee should remain informal because to formalize this function might well prove offensive to some of the trilateral and other countries which do not take part. Who are you afraid of? And Kaiser report says at this time, replies, many countries in Europe would resent the dominant role that that West Germany plays at these trilateral meetings. West Germany, or Germany, huh? You mean the same Germany that's controlling the EU right now? Refuses to do anything for those other countries? That's interesting. Anyways, Cooper also replies, many people still live in a world of separate nations, and they would resent such coordination of policy. Novak asks, but this trilateral committee is essential to your whole policy. How can you keep it a secret or fail to try to get popular support for its decision on how trilateral member nations will conduct their economic and political policies? And Cooper says, well, I guess it's the press's job to publicize it. Novak says, yes, but why doesn't President Carter come out with it and tell the American people that U.S. economic and political power is being coordinated by a trilateral committee made up of Henry Owen and 6 others. After all, if U.S. policy is being made on a multinational level, the people should know. And Cooper says, President Carter and Secretary of State Vance have constantly alluded to this in their speeches. Kaiser says, it just hasn't become an issue. And he says there's a source, thinks a source, Trilateralism, the Trilateral Commission in Elite Planning for World Management, edition by Holly Sklar, 1980, South End Press, Boston, pages 192 to 193. Of course, although Kaiser and Cooper claimed everything being manipulated by the Trilateral Commission committee was already out in the open, well, it wasn't. Their interview slipped under the mainstream media radar, which is to say, it was ignored and buried. Again, what did I tell you about CNN? It didn't become a scandal on the level of, say, Watergate, although its essence was far larger than Watergate. U.S. economic and political policy run by a committee of the Trilateral Commission. The commission had been created in 1973 as an informal discussion group by David Rockefeller and his sidekick Brzezinski, who would become Jimmy Carter's national security advisor. Shortly after Carter won the presidential election, his aide, Hamilton Jordan, said that if after the inauguration, Kai Vance and Brzezinski came on board as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, quote, we have lost and I will quit, is what he said. Lost because both men were powerful members of the Trilateral Commission, and their appointment to key positions would signal a surrender of the White House control to the Commission. You see, this is why I always say, when the president becomes president, you watch who they appoint into key positions. That will tell you everything you need to know about whether that person, the president, is the right choice or not if you weren't sure beforehand. And if you look at Barack Obama, he appointed all the right club members. You look at George Bush, all the right club members. Before him, Clinton, all the right club members. Papa Bush before him, all the right club members. Ronald Reagan, some of the right club members. Not fully, but again, they forced him to take George Bush Sr. as his VP, so for goodness sake, come on. And then again, before him was Carter. So out of all those presidents, we have one now, Donald Trump, who isn't filling his cabinet with those people. Who's he appointing? People who are opposite of them. So now you know, in case you're wondering, everyone says Trump was good, but I still don't like him. Now you know, you should probably like him. Okay? So as he says here, Vance and Brzezinski were appointed Secretary of State and National Security Advisor as Jordan feared. But he didn't quit. He became Carter's Chief of Staff. Flash forward again to the Obama administration. In the run-up to his inauguration after the 2008 presidential election, Obama was tutored by the co-founder of the Trilateral Commission, Mr. Brzezinski. No kidding. 4 years before birthing the commission with his boss of bosses, David Rockefeller, Brzezinski wrote, quote, the nation-state as a fundamental unit of man's organized life has ceased to be the principal creative force. International banks and multinational corporations are acting and planning in terms that are far in advance of the political concepts of the nation-state, end quote. So, goodbye, separate nations. Any doubt on the question of trilateral goals? Oh, first of all, hold on. The EU wasn't the EU in this time frame. Remember, the EU was late 1990s or whatever it was. They created, the European Union. Separate nations, no more. Who took over? The EU, unelected officials again. And now it's falling apart. So if that's falling apart, what are the chances that what Brzezinski and the Rockefellers and everybody else wanted, the Trilateral Commission wanted, are just going to show up all of a sudden and that's not a big deal. We'll be okay. I think the elite are in big trouble. But when you corner a dog in a corner, they can do some interesting things. Sometimes you don't want any part of it. So we'll have to see how this plays out over the next few years with Donald Trump at the helm. But anyways, And here's the other one. You may have heard of this one. Any doubt on the question of trilateral goals is answered by David Rockefeller himself in his memoirs from 2003. Quote, some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that is the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it. End quote. Patrick Wood, author of Trilaterals Over Washington and Technocracy Rising, points out there are only 87 members of the Trilateral Commission who live in America. Obama appointed 11 of them to posts in his administration. See, I did not read down this far when I sent this video to myself. This article, hey Joe, do a video. That's all I do. Link Joe to myself, do video, subject, send. I read a sentence or two, or paragraph or two. Usually I know within then, is this good or not? Sometimes I'll go a little further. I did not know what I was about to say here, what this article was about to say. But I could already see where this was leading, and it made me think of what I already knew about these people. And I'm happy about that because now it's being validated. So, people like us, you and I, and people awake, we can actually see these things and understand these things and comment about it and actually be right, instead of having to wait for the experts and the media to tell us these things because they're never going to tell you. Anyways, Obama appointed 11 of those trilateral commissioners to posts in his administration. For example, remember little Timmy Geithner, Treasury Secretary; James Jones, National Security Advisor; Paul Volcker, remember that guy? Chairman, Economic Recovery Committee; Dennis Blair, Director of National Intelligence, just to name a few. Here is the payoff. The U.S. Trade Representative, appointed by Obama in 2013, who was responsible for negotiating the Globalist Trans-Pacific Partnership Treaty, also known as TPP, with 11 other nations, was Michael Froman, a former member of the Trilateral Commission. Don't let the word former fool you. Commission members resign when they take positions in the executive branch of government. And when they serve in vital positions, such as a U.S. trade representative, they aren't there by accident. They're operatives with a specific agenda. Flash forward one more time. Trump, who squashed the Globalist Trans-Pacific Partnership Treaty, as soon as he was inaugurated, has been busy making staff appointments. Patrick Wood writes from 2/6/2017, or February 6th. According to a White House press release, the first member of the Trilateral Commission has entered the Trump administration as the Deputy Assistant to the President for International Economic Affairs, where he will sit on the National Security Council. Kenneth I. Juster will serve as Deputy Assistant to the President for International Economic Affairs. He will coordinate the administration's international economic policy and integrate it with national security and foreign policy. He will also be the President's representative and lead U.S. negotiator, Sherpa, for the annual G7, G20, and APEC summits. Juster's duties will take him to the heart of high-level negotiations with foreign governments on economic policy. Keep your eye on Mr. Juster. Will he take actions in line with Trump's avowed anti-globalist stance? Or will Juster work as one more covert trilateral operative in the center of American decision-making? If the answer is covert operative, does Trump know this? Does he condone what Mr. Juster will do? Or is this a case of secret infiltration on behalf of the most powerful globalist group in the world, the Trilateral Commission? So I have to ask myself, being one man Trump, does he know all of this? Do you think a man like this, most people, I should say, know specifically who is on the Trilateral Commission, who's on the Council on Foreign Relations, who is, apparently not. Because I don't think for 1 second Trump would allow that person with that group in his administration, unless he's doing what he did by picking Rex Tillerson, oil guy, or Mr. Mnuchin, another former Goldman guy. And we've seen so far them cleaning house in the State Department. So is he going to make this trilateral commissioner's person do his bidding? Yeah, I know you want to do it that way. I know the other countries are concerned. I appreciate you being the middleman. But I made a promise to the American people that I'm going to make America great again. And what you're suggesting as middleman to these other countries, it's not in line with my policies. So here's what I want you to tell them. I think it might go that way. Again, when you have a line of people, I'll take that position. I'm qualified. Here's my resume. Oh, he's an insider. Covert. Okay. No, thanks, but no thanks. Oh, got another candidate. Black guy this time. Hey, great resume. Great resume. Happens to be in there covertly. Third guy gets in line. Hey, I'm good too. I don't know either of the first two. When in reality, you connect the dots, and one person after one person after one person. It's like, well, I tell my wife, I'll go to the grocery store. You can't buy anything on the shelf. Everything is bad for you. There's a little teeny tiny organic section. Oh, here you go. Well, they don't have hardly anything in here. Well, let me go out here and look around for the least of the worst, and it's still bad. It's the same thing. Everybody he can pick, I need these positions. Oh, that's a club member. That's a club member. That's a club member. That's one of their minions. That's one of their minions. That one. Okay, clear all that out. Start again. Next in line. Up. Club member. Trilateral. Council Foreign Relations. You can see he's got his work cut out for him, can't you? I just hope that he tells them, I know who you are, whether he does know them or not, or whether he tells them or not. You're not doing what I want you to do. You know what I'm about, right? America first, right? Okay. What you're suggesting for this trade deal is not even kind of America first. I think I want to replace you. Have a nice day. That's how that should go. We will see. Take care.